Welcome to Fired Up. I am your host, Tammy Schaefer-Scheich. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope that the topics we discuss can make you fired up. Thank you for joining us today on Fired Up. I am so excited to speak with someone that I adore. So, Miss Christina will be joining us today. Christina, tell us a little bit about yourself.
45, mother, executive director, community leader, boss lady. I don't know. There's so many different things. Child of God.
Love
All of
that.
it.
Love all of that. All right. So, what would you like to talk about today?
So you and I've been in contact, and it's just been gnawing at me. So, the word investing keeps coming to mind.
Okay. Love it.
Yes. So, typically, like, the word investing, it's like, of course, it's financial,
Sure.
right? But it's like usually like business and, that kind of thing. But what about investing in humans?
That's where I went immediately when you said that,
Well, because you kind of know me a little bit,
because I
Miss
know you a little
Tammy.
bit. That's exactly right. So tell me what that means to you, investing in humans.
So I'll get super emotional just because people deserve to be invested in.
Absolutely.
And I think we've lost that.
I agree.
And I mean, on a way bigger level, like, you and I invest in people all the time, right? We are passionate people. So whatever we do, we put Christina and Tammy in it. Like, we stamp it.
Yep.
Right? And people can tell Tammy's been there, Christina's been there. We leave a trail behind, right?
Mhm.
But what about us?
What about us? And what about Christina?
Right.
Because we're all about Christina today.
Well, not necessarily.
No,
but,
I am. I'm all about Christina today.
But it's at what point? At what point do we say we need to fully invest in someone, like down to the core, right? And as someone that has poured herself into the community, into different passions and things like that, secondary trauma is real.
100%.
When you are dealing with such horrific things.
Yep.
That sometimes unknowingly individuals like myself, and I've talked to individuals that are in my, that do things that I do, or very similar. And sometimes we let things go, right? And because we're pouring everything that we have into somebody, or things within the community. And sometimes we forget about ourselves.
Well, let's talk about that, because
Mm-hmm.
you can't pour from an empty pitcher.
Right.
And so it's all great and wonderful
Mm-hmm.
to care about everyone and to take care. And that I believe that impulse in you is hardwired. I don't believe
Yes.
that is something that you just woke up one day and said, here, I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a hardwired thing with you, my
Right.
opinion.
Right.
So we can give and give and give and give and give, which is lovely. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying it shouldn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
but I am saying there should be a checkpoint where our engine shows that we're out of gas.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
then we've got to fill it back up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely. And you have to pivot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you use all of that experience and things. You do something for so long, and then it's just like you kind of become numb,
right,
to things.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to pivot, and you have to look, and you have to take stock of where you're at. What are your total assets? What are your total losses?
Right.
Right. And where would you like to go with that? Right. And then some people have the ability to pivot and go on. Some of us don't.
Tell me what you mean.
What I mean by that is, I'm trying to choose my words carefully.
You're in a safe zone.
So, having grown up, I feel like the odds have always been against me.
Interesting. So tell me where that started, Christina.
As a child,
Okay. When was the first time it felt that way?
6 years old,
Okay.
that
Something
I can
happened.
remember.
Okay, something happened.
Absolutely,
Go tell me what
absolutely.
happened.
Well, there was abuse,
Physical, mental.
all.
Okay.
So, so from that point, it's been fight or flight.
Interesting. So explains so much about you.
Mhm.
Explains all of okay, keep talking. But I'm just okay, makes sense.
So fast forward, like go through all that foster care, all of that, okay? Drug addiction, recovery. And from that age of 6, we cannot forget about God. One of my earliest memories attached to all of that is praying at a window.
Oh, okay. Love that.
Right. So having the spirit that I've always had, even till 45, like I see myself back then at the age of 6, all the way here to 45, but with all of this turmoil,
Sure.
loss.
Do you feel like you lost a voice?
No, 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 no.
You feel like
I
that's why
gained
that's
my
why the voice
voice.
that's why the voice is
Right,
bigger.
right. Because being so little, I felt like that voice was taken away from me before I even
That's
had
what
it.
I meant. No, that's what I meant. So
Yes,
in the moments where you didn't have a voice, don't you think that that's what's formed the voice that you have for everyone now?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like I can be a great advocate, that I have been a great advocate, that
100%.
sometimes when I am so bold and rawr is because I was so silent for so long. I didn't know how to grab a voice, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. But
Okay.
now that voice is not only helping you,
Mm-hmm.
now you're using that voice for all that you advocate for.
Absolutely. 100%. So, which brings me, and I kept, this word, and the word was brought to me. Let me throw that out there. It was like, stuff stirring up inside of you for quite a while. That's how
Sure.
big change comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the word was thrown at me. Okay. And the word was invest. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly where I want to go with my future, right? Like what I do right now is not ever going to go away.
Sure.
I can do that in my sleep
100%.
now, right? So I have this, as you can see, like the smile comes on my face. I can feel my light shining right now. That's how I know it's real.
Absolutely.
And so when the word invest came to me, that's exactly where I want to go with my future, investing and pivot still into the community, but put it into property, into, all of those kinds of things, and build a future for myself to where I don't have to work so hard. I work smarter, not harder,
100%.
money wise. Because I've worked so hard physically, mentally, spiritually, all of this other things, advocating. There's zero money in that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And now I'm 45 and looking at my future, and my daughter's getting ready to she's 17, and, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 45. My daughter's getting ready to oh my gosh, I have a whole life ahead of me.
You absolutely do. And so what are you going to do with it?
Right. That is still meaningful, but also meaningful for myself. Like I've got to put myself into that equation now, to where for so long, yes, I was in the equation and it helped me heal. Everything that I've done was also for me
Sure.
as a healing process, but it was never at the forefront of my mind. At the forefront of my mind were other people.
Absolutely. And getting through the next thing, right? Thing after thing.
Yes,
And I've got this to
yes,
do, and I've got this to do,
yes,
and I've got this to
yes.
do. And now the world opens up, and now that you've finally taken a breath,
Yep.
and you now look at it and say, oh, okay, so there's somebody else here that I really haven't thought of. And that's that 6-year-old little girl.
Right.
And what am I going to do for her?
Right.
Oh, I love this.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So okay, so investing. So as you are investing in yourself and you continue to invest in others because that's part
Mm-hmm.
of who you are. You're not
Right.
it's not going to go one
That's
route or
never
the
going to go
other.
away.
Right. So What does that look like? What does Christina want to invest in for her?
Well, so I'm not 100% sure, but what has been coming to me is wild. It's
Okay.
wildly, um, when I say what, maybe that's not the um, intentional.
Okay.
Um, Maybe starting, and this is just like,
Yeah.
just talking,
We're just brainstorming.
maybe starting, I don't even know that it needs to be a nonprofit. I don't even know what it really needs to be, but people in my situation, or not even just situation, but life experiences to where we weren't given tools, we weren't given opportunities, you know, um, to
Christina,
have.
talk a little bit about that. Just as much or as little as you want to talk about.
I
Tell
mean, I
me.
wasn't taught finances.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, I was told I needed to work at the age of 12, and I have had to provide for myself since 12. So it's always been survival or fight.
Right. Fight or flight.
Um, so being stuck in survival mode for so long and coming out of that, like I can see where it was, if there was opportunity around me, I couldn't even see it
Right. Because you were so focused on what you needed to
because
do.
I wasn't even taught what an opportunity was.
Interesting. Okay. So now that you are going to be in a place now where you take a breath, right?
Yeah,
Like it's a theoretical
right.
and actual physical breath where you
Mhm.
say to yourself, okay, I've accomplished, and I hope you do. As I
Yeah.
say this to you, this is my ask for you. I want you to stop and take a breath and see what all you've accomplished.
Mhm.
Um, do you want to talk about Team of Mercy?
I mean, we can.
Just you talked about being in charge of that organization, so give me an elevator communication about the organization that you founded.
I didn't find. I
Okay.
wasn't the founder.
Okay.
I was there on before the 501c3 was formed. Fun fact, we actually became a 501c3 on my daughter's birthday.
Oh,
That's when we got the paperwork.
so that's meant to
So
be.
I wasn't the founder, but our founder doesn't have anything to do with Team of Mercy anymore.
Got it.
But I've been there almost since the very beginning. But it started out as an organization to do trauma scene cleanup. Okay. And then I lost my daughter and I was asked the question, what would you need? And I said, I need to be around like minded people.
Yep.
So that's where the support group came.
Love.
So I dived right in since 2013 when Hannah passed and our 501c3 came in effect. We have added so many different services to trauma scene cleanup, counseling services. We have support group. We have financial assistance for funeral, um, graveside, all kinds of things, celebration of life, we really meet people where they're at. We assess their immediate needs versus their long-term needs,
Sure.
right? And that could be an array of things,
Absolutely, because each person's going to need something different
something
and have
different.
different feelings in that moment.
And that is exactly how all of our services have come about, is that fact right there.
So tell me this. As you go through this over and over again with different people that you're
Uh-huh.
helping, how much of that is um, jarring to you each time, and how much of that is healing to you?
For the first several years, it was very, very healing.
Okay,
Very healing. Um, to now where it is very draining.
understood.
Um, because the secondary trauma is real. I knew nothing about secondary trauma. The fact that I can walk into a scene right now, and not to be too graphic, but I mean, it's just the nature and the realistic of it. I could be standing right next to the body and it really not affect me.
So okay, so let's like I said, let's focus on Christina. So talk about in that moment when you are focused on the situation and not on going into your own head on those things.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel? Does that feel like you've like you have kind of mind body experience, like you've taken yourself out of your
Mhm.
body. Like, tell me about how that feels to you.
Well, it feels it does feel comfortable, like I'm comfortable doing it,
Sure.
okay? I feel very, what's the word? Knowledgeable isn't really the word, but the
Oh, yeah,
person,
no, I think knowledgeable
um,
is a good word. You
the
you know
perfect
what to do.
person to
Right.
do that because I've been there,
Yep.
and not only does it, not traumatize me anymore, or not anymore, but I'm not traumatized by it. So I don't have those feelings and everything that affect my thought process.
Sure.
I can be the professional, and then I can also relate to your feelings, if that makes
Oh, it makes perfect
sense.
sense. No, no, no.
So those are all of the things that I feel being in those situations.
So
Did that answer that good?
100%.
Okay.
So can you acknowledge to me, not how do you feel, but can you acknowledge to me that you in that situation, I can't imagine anyone better to be
Hmm.
in that situation. Can you acknowledge that for me?
Absolutely.
Fabulous. Okay, so can we then go back and talk to that 6-year-old little
Hmm.
girl? Because when we talk about investing and kind of what I hear in all of this is where you've been, where you are, and where you're going, right?
Hmm.
So we're going to kind of look at this as a three-pronged process. So can you look at that broken little girl?
Hmm.
Because I that's the only way I can describe her. And if I'm wrong, you correct me.
Nope.
Can you look at that broken child and say to her, "Look what you helped me do,"
Hmm.
because she's a part of you in everything you do. So her brokenness, her instability, because that has to, as a 6-year-old, right? You're
Absolutely.
looking around at the people with you to take care of you, and you had that ripped away from you. So that caregiver that you really didn't know how to be for yourself at 6, now Christina today is that caregiver for people that you didn't know the day before you're caring for them.
Absolutely. And
People
that's what makes me perfect for what I do.
agreed.
And I 100% own that.
But I want you to own it. I want you to own it more deeply. I want you to own it not just you are the perfect person, because we're not going to disagree on that,
Right.
but it's deeper than that. That person in that situation that you didn't know the day before that now knows you is going to come to know you on a very deep level when they didn't know the day before that they needed you,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And so not only are you the perfect person, but Christina, there's so much of you in what you do. It is not it is not it is not a job, I guess is my best
Right.
terrible word to use, but best word to use. It is what you're doing is you're giving of yourself. So when you talk about being drained, duh, right?
Hmm.
Because there's so much of you that has to happen in different moments and different pieces of your life where it is not, you're not focused on you at all. You jump into the scene, whatever the scene is,
Right.
right? So whether that is Team of Mercy, whether that is as a community leader,
Hmm.
whether that is the mom, all
Right.
of these things, have watched you, almost sounds stalkerish, so in a good stalker way,
Hmm.
and you just jump in.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about you. You're thinking about what that person needs in that situation, which is beautiful and wonderful. And that 6-year-old couldn't have even imagined doing that
Mm-mm.
because they were so upset and rightfully so focused on the instability in their life. So I need you to take a look at where you've been and how amazing you are that you were able to do that. Now, let's take that position and say, okay, as you said, using your words, not mine, because they're better than mine. You could do that in your sleep.
Uh-huh.
Now, I think that's a misleading statement because when I hear that, I think perfunctory. I think
Hmm.
of, yep, okay, so I'm saying this and I'm doing this. You and I both know that's not how you do that. So
Right.
I need to clean that up for
Okay.
you
Clean it up.
because there's nothing rote about this for you.
Right.
It is you are so focused on that other person. But what a great time in your life to be able to say to yourself, I was there. I have, and whether you would admit it or not, I don't know, but I can say it. You have helped so many people in so many situations. So it's not locked into your love of humans isn't locked into Team of Mercy.
Mm-mm.
It's not locked into a school corporation. It's not locked into being a mom and being a friend and all of those things. It is just Christina full out
Right.
with everything you do. So I'm going to suggest that that becomes easy for you because that's who you are,
Mm-hmm.
not because you've done it so many times that you can do it. Yeah. I know that you know what to do, but you're so much more than that.
Okay.
So, like I said, I'm going to be your campaign manager right
Right.
now. So you're welcome. And just say that you're so much more than that. Now, what excites me is you saying to me, okay, because I'm taking license with your word investing. I'm going to
Yes.
take a license with it.
Yes.
What you have done is invested in humans from the time you were 6. You have seen a need and you have figured out how to meet that need you've met people where they are in lots of different ways, and you've been able to step up and go, okay, let me tell you what you need. And because of your personality, I've watched it and they've gone, okay.
Yeah, they do. I don't know why people flock to me. I mean, random people in a grocery store, I won't even know them and just say hello. And all of a sudden, we have a life story.
Sure, absolutely. So what I'm saying to you is, as you have invested in the masses
Mm-hmm.
without thinking about self,
Yeah.
you have put together a community of humans that know you more deeply. Even that person in the grocery store,
Yeah.
right? That they had a 3-minute conversation with you. They're going to walk away and say, I know her.
Yes.
And you're going to say to me, yeah, they know this much.
Right.
Right.
But they feel like they have a good idea of who I am.
Exactly.
Yes.
So your life has been predicated on investing in humans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the most exciting thing that I hear in this is, okay, cool. Now I can still do that. I'm not abandoning that
Right.
because that is who I am as a person.
Yeah.
It would be like taking
That will go into anything I
Right.
do next.
Right. So that's like it's telling you that we're never going to take oxygen away from you.
Right.
That these
Right.
investing in people is your oxygen. So now we get to think about, like, this just becomes the fun part. Now we get to think about, how can Christina invest in Christina?
Right.
Because you argued with me a little bit about that at the beginning. And I'm
Right.
like, no, this is going to be about
Yeah.
you. Because in arguing with me, let me tell you where it came from. Pick me, pick me. It came from that 6-year-old
Mm-hmm.
that his focus is completely on someone else all the time,
Yeah.
which is lovely, but can't pour from an empty pitcher.
Absolutely.
So now we get to speculate and say, okay, we know who you are. We know how loving you are. We know how caring you are. We know that in a 3-minute conversation at the grocery store. We
Right.
don't even have to be deeper than that. We
Mhm.
can surmise all of those things there. So now let's talk about how Christina invests in Christina, because what I need you to hear before you ever utter a word is, the more you invest in you,
Mhm.
the more you're going to have to give back to all of those people that
Mhm.
have been in your life and the ones that come into your life going forward. There's going to be more of you to give, because at some point you've got to do that. You've got to invest in you. So
Right.
my question is going to be, if there were no limits in life, so we're not talking financial limits, we're not talking human limits as far as what this person's going to say, we don't care about any of that. If I could get out, because if I could have a Glinda magic wand, let me tell you that I would have it in my life. So I'm going to wave my Glinda wand at you,
Mhm.
and I'm going to say, if you could do anything, what would it be?
Really?
Yeah.
So I would invest in our community, as in properties, manage, do all of those types of things. Um, Add things that I think that we need,
Like,
that
you've got something in mind.
I do. So just in the poorer neighborhoods and things like that, helping spruce up, buy homes and redo that,
Sure.
whatever.
Sure.
But add things that those areas need. If it needs a laundromat, we put an affordable laundromat there. because they need things in their area.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I would invest in that way, right? And have properties and things like that to where I want to have like a 10-year plan. I want to grind for the next 10 years for Christina, and then I want to go travel.
Okay. So what's preventing you from doing that?
Finances.
Okay. So, which is a real thing.
What I mean,
Right.
that's the only thing
Okay.
that is preventing me.
So then my question then becomes, okay, you've got long range goals, you've got short range goals, which is kind of the way you need to do
Yeah.
life. I mean, are all of those things. So then have you thought about what it's going to take? What do you change in your world to give you the financial independence to be able to do that? And you don't have to answer that question for me. Like I'm not, that's a
Mhm.
rhetorical question, but that becomes the next question, right?
Right.
Is okay, I know what I want and I
Mhm.
know what it's going to take to get there.
Yep.
So for me, that's the hard part. Like those are the
Mhm.
hard part. The financial part will fall into place for you. I believe that with every fiber of my being.
That's where I'm struggling, and that's where I was just like, okay, so when this word invest came to me, I already knew for a while that I wanted to, because I have all these ideas, right? And for our community. And this is where I live, and this is where one day I hope the rest of my
Yeah,
whatever, all of those things.
sure.
Um, but then it's like, well, if I would ask somebody to invest in me,
Mhm. Which is where I was going. I mean,
right?
so you've made so many wonderful relationships in this community and you are so well known. So, what if this becomes you are the Pied Piper anyway? I mean, can we just like, can we use that? You're the Pied Piper anyway. So, why don't you turn that Pied Piper um, talent into because we're going to follow you, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
investing in the community, sold. Like
Right.
it's not like you're
Right.
like it's going to be something. So maybe that becomes. I mean, think of yourself as that Pied Piper
Mm-hmm.
because you have sweat equity in that,
Right.
and you have traction in that.
Mm-hmm.
We know who you are, so maybe that becomes your next thing to focus on.
Right.
Is and to tie this all together, that 6-year-old was afraid. So many things that you do observationally. I'm not in your skin, I don't wear your shoes, so I don't know exactly. But so many things observationally you are doing and you continue to do just because it needs to be done. And so you roll up your sleeves and you go, okay, this is what needs to be done.
Let's do it.
Right. I think this becomes that for you. I think
I
that
know.
becomes your next Pied Piper journey
Right.
of. But what I'm going to suggest, and we always tie these up with homework. Here's your homework.
Mm-hmm.
In areas of your life, you know you are the boss babe. You know
Mm-hmm.
you are. Um, there are so many things that you do that I know nothing about. So if I came in and said to you, "Hey, Christina, change all of this," you would be able to look at me and go, "Hey, no, we're not changing it because this is the right path," and that would be the right thing to tell me, right? Like 100% the right thing to tell me. That 6-year-old still exists, and there's some um, self confidence issues
Mm-hmm.
with that 6-year-old, um, which are beautiful and also can be hard. So I'm going to suggest to you that this next part of your life, as we all invest in Christina
Mm-hmm.
and help her get to where she needs to be, I need you to put on your Supergirl cape and know that if you believe the steps there, when you put your foot down, God's going to have a hard surface for you.
He told me that today.
Wow.
Not in that exact words. He's like, stop being scared.
Right. Because it's the 6-year-old that's scared. It's not you, it's the 6-year-old. And I'm going to tell you, knowing you and loving you, that the 6-year-old's wonderful and the 6-year-old got you to here. And the 6-year-old is the one that allowed all of us to fall in love with you. Because if it hadn't been for if then, I'm a big believer in if then. If it hadn't been for her, then we wouldn't know you as we do.
100%. I wouldn't change a step of my journey.
With that said, now you need to tell her that you got this. because she's the one that creeps in and she's scared because the feelings that we have as adults we've always had,
Uh-huh.
right? And we can be involved in something and we're immediately back somewhere else.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to have you my homework for you would be actually talking to that 6-year-old. Take a look in the mirror, Christina, you're badass.
Mhm.
And I want you to tell her how this turned out well. We've seen this part of the story. We know it turned out really well, and we know that she are kicking butt all over the
Mhm.
place, and we haven't even started. And
Right.
that's what I want you to tell her, because if you won't lie to her. You and she have been through too much.
Mhm.
If you tell her that you and she haven't even started, and oh, by the way, God's in on this, please. Like,
Right.
could you have a better partner in this?
Right.
You'll be able to go kick the butt that is in there. And
Mhm.
I get to have a ringside seat and
Yeah,
watch your success. It's there.
it is.
Think that's possible?
Yeah, 100%. I know it's possible.
Then
I
then
do, but
then
it is scary. It's
it
new,
is.
and that part of asking for help
Yeah.
and being like, "Hey, this is what I need." That is kind of foreign to me.
But that's what I'm telling you. Please don't please think in your head that you are not begging for something. You are asking for help to help others. And that's a
Right.
different mentality.
Right. It's more of a the phrase hand up instead of hand out
100%.
kept coming to mind, where it's just like, that's not what you're going to be asking for.
Nope.
You need help,
Right.
and this is what you need help in. If this was taken care of, you would have zero roadblock. I mean, there's always roadblocks,
Sure.
right? And
Sure.
whatever. But that stuff is natural.
That's right. You'll take as they come up.
It
You'll tackle them as they come up,
absolutely,
and they'll go.
absolutely. But then once I get over that and the success is there, then I start investing in another Christina
Absolutely.
to do the exact same thing. You pay it forward.
That's exactly what you do. Christina, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
You're awesome and amazing. And like I said, having a ringside seat to your um, love in the community is a beautiful thing. I believe meeting you was a blessing. I've told you
Mhm.
that. So thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
today. Thank you so much for joining us on Fired Up. You can't talk to Christina without being fired up. So it seems kind of perfect for me. Watch her on this next part of her journey. We will all root for her and be there to help with that success that's ahead for her. I hope this has helped you all, and I hope you leave fired up.